It's interesting that her husband's good buddy Rhodes Scholars are the ones who trained the Saudis and put them in power in the first place. Also, might have helped to create that place called Israel with the Balfour Declaration, but I digress. Welcome to the Grand Theft World podcast, hosted and sponsored by the members over at grandtheftworld.com. If you were to go to grandtheftworld.com, you can learn how to be a member. Go ahead, check it out. This week in the news, we have Qatar. It's like the new APAC for everybody. And Biden is non-compass menace. We have a tape coming out from Biden this week. But also, sad news, just earlier tonight, we hear that Joe Biden has aggressive prostate cancer. So, prostate cancer and Biden are going together. I've got a problem with a piece of software here, Paul. Could you take over for a second? Let me just work on this. Welcome to the show. We're doing it live. Hi, Paul. Hi, Scott.
How you doing?
What's up?
All right. Let me see
Yeah,
here.
and of course we're in mid-flight and everything's great. Everything's going to work out great. I think we're trying to get the Rumble stream up too, right? Yeah, but
Yeah, we got a couple new pieces of software going
It's
on
okay.
tonight. But also,
Yes.
let me go back over here. Also, this week in the news, we had Comey with the 8647 message. Some seashells spoke to him. He heard a message, and now I think he's being questioned by Secret Service. We're going to have to wait. We're going to hear from Tulsi Gabbard, and we're going to learn about what happened to James Comey, who also might be involved with some narco terrorism, drug money trafficking that they didn't even pick up on yet. But we're going to do a deep dive on that to make sure that you are brought up to speed. Also, yay Hiles Stalin. You can talk about Stalin. There's not a problem. Hammer and sickle, all that type of, Stalin killed 50 million people. You could talk about Stalin all day, but Ye dared to talk about another World War II nemesis. Do you know what the word nemesis means? It means that he got banned from several sites, and that might not be working out so well, or it might be doing exactly what he wants, is to like press that button. But my question is, where does Ye go from here? After you write a song about, Tiny Mustache Man, where do you go from there? I don't even know. We have a special guest tonight. We have Brad from 5 Times August, and we also have a second part of Star Suckers that we started last week. And next week, we're going to get to Hijacking Humanity. We're making a new special version because it was put out on DVD at 480p, and we're at least going to try to make it a little HD-ish for you guys. That's Paul Verge's, I think, 2007 double DVD documentary set. Back in the day, there weren't a whole lot of truthy type movies out there. He was on the vanguard. He is a pioneer, and we're going to see how far he's come in almost 20 years. That's about it for the top of the show. So now, without further ado, Scott, Paul, how you guys doing? Welcome to Grand Theft World episode, 235?
235.
All right.
Shaming the devil.
How's our streaming look? Since we got new streaming set up, we
It is a few seconds away, I think.
All right, cool. And I did get a chance to tweet it out on X, so we'll have people coming over, and we'll have a nice deep dive situation tonight. And I got to open up the brain model because we're going to need to use that, and we're going to learn a little bit about James Comey. Now, James Comey is a very tall FBI director. There's been a lot of FBI directors. J. Edgar Hoover was not that tall. He was like a Napoleon type character, had a little Napoleonish complex, but he also had a little Clyde Towson complex. Comey, on the other hand, is he's like 6'6". So he's a towering figure. And I'm sure he's not used to being challenged too much, none by they, them, those around him, which is why he's been an ever useful tool for the deep state. The deep state is something that Comey has had a whole history of fondling and pleasuring, because he loves himself some deep state. Now, the whole thing that happened with Trump back in 2016, all the way up through Russiagate, all these types of things, raids on Trump's house, that's Comey and company. It's not just Comey, and it's not just like the deep state took over everything. And there's some people in our country who are amiable. They like the deep state agenda. They like power. They want more power. They want absolute power. And people like James Comey, if he's not driving the stagecoach, he's riding shotgun the whole time, protecting the endeavor so it can go on, including the Epstein cover-up. So the fact that he happened to tweet these seashells that said 8647, and the fact that he claims that he did not know that 86 means to get rid of, in the mob terms, it was 8 miles outside the city, 6 feet under. And that's how you deal with something that needs to be dealt with. I'm sure Comey knows that as FBI director, tracking organized crime all these years. Or maybe he wasn't tracking organized crime. He was fronting for it because I would like to get to my John Cruz. I did an interview with a whistleblower from HSBC, which is the Hong Kong Shanghai Banking Corporation, founded from the East India Company's opium monopoly. And John Cruz blew the whistle because HSBC had gotten caught for narco terrorism funding, and they were fined billions of dollars by the U.S. government. And what Cruz said was when HSBC paid the fine, so let's say they did 30 billion in laundering, they had a $3 billion fine. So 10%, you pay 10%, you play the game. That's how that works. So John Cruz says, hey, that 3 billion that HSBC paid to the US government disappeared. Poof, gone. Who took it? I don't know. But soon thereafter, HSBC was prosecuted by the Comey Justice Department FBI people. And then as part of the punishment, you understand that HSBC is the front bank for the opium monopoly, okay? They had to put Comey on the board of directors of HSBC as part of their punishment. And soon thereafter, HSBC made a donation to the Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton Foundation to the tune of $100 million to support her campaign against Trump. So these people, the never Trumpers, let's call them, deep state, they have put in a lot of energy and resources in order to make sure that Trump, didn't have a fair chance. And there was a lot of ways that he was subverted in the first term by the deep state. Now, I'm not saying Trump's a great guy, and I'm not saying he's not the heel in the wrestling match, but I am saying even they don't like the heel that they had to hire to play the opposing side of their spectrum. You see what I'm saying? And Trump putting, I think this analysis might have come from Jesse on Fire, but he made the observation that Trump surrounded himself in his cabinet this time, not with just pro-APAC people. I think that goes without saying. But he surrounded himself with people in his cabinet that were persecuted and prosecuted by the former administration, by the people in the position prior to what they held. So if there's a guy in charge of the medical establishment, and they replace him with Jay Bhattacharya, who I think comes from Stanford University and was an outspoken critic of the pandemic and had promoted the Great Barrington Declaration and these sort of things. So someone that was persecuted by the prior administration now has a seat at the table to kind of counterbalance it. So there's a lot of interesting things going on, but the news of Biden having prostate cancer this past week came out a couple hours ago, is it was preceded by a piece of news that was very embarrassing for them. So I think that's what made them kind of lay down that card, because he got caught. He just went through this interview as part of it was like a debriefing investigation or something like that. Dude had no idea. And it hasn't been that long since he was president. So you got to assume maybe that was kind of going on when he was president. And so we're going to play the clips in order. So it might sound like the one clip from Liberal Hive Mind is like beating up on Joe Biden, but that's just the results of the investigation. And the guy who did the investigation, they went and persecuted him a whole bunch too, to be like, don't say that. It's too soon to say that. You can't say that yet. The narrative is not caught up. So we have those clips coming up, and also at the top of the show, let me shut this software that doesn't work, because that was that threw me off. That threw me a curve right at the top of the show. All right, I want to get to Qatar. Have you guys heard about Qatar?
Yeah, a little bit. It's been in the news. Qatar Airways.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're looking to sponsor a show, Qatar Airways. I mean, come on.
Well, you, Paul.
Are
you still multitasking? Sorry.
I was, you got me. But Qatar is, it's one of those countries that has a lot of money and is wielding that money and to influence on behalf of some of those they, them, those on perhaps.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because Qatar, or what people sometimes call Qatar. I know Doha, Qatar, because it's the big military base the U.S. has over there to stage operations in the Middle East. Pretty sure they're super friendly to Americans over there because America puts a lot of resources and other good stuff they want over there, right? So Doha, Qatar, U.S. military operations. But I also know of Qatar from recently because they've been showing us how much money Qatar is putting in to influence our universities. And as a country, they're saying Qatar is the top influence. Well, like they're a proxy influence. Who's behind Qatar? Who's behind Qatar putting all that influence into our country? Is it just that they want to make us friendly toward them, or is there someone behind them and they're kind of injecting things into our college system? We're like, no, that's not us. It's Qatar. It's over there. They're the ones doing it. Now, I also know Qatar from October 7th. Right, right. Because on October 7th, all the Hamas leaders were living in Qatar. So if Israel really wanted to get back at Hamas, they would have just gone to Qatar and got those guys. But instead, they're doing like TV interviews and living a billion-dollar lifestyle right outside the reach. If only Israel knew someone in the American government that they could be like, hey, can we come over and get those guys? They're bad guys. But that would never happen. So it's interesting, the timing. It's almost like Israel's losing grip in our media cycle. So now they're coming in with, hey, Qatar is the new APAC. That's what you should pay attention. Don't pay attention to APAC. APAC is small group. Look at Qatar. Look at Qatar. Oh, wait, we have to maybe do something over there. Are the Houthis attacking again? Oh, geez. You know, these types of things going on. So anyway, there's been a lot of accusations in the, about people, media hosts getting bought off by Qatar. And Tim Dillon did a little report on this. So we're going to cut to him to open the show because there's some really heavy information later tonight in the show. So we're going to start off with a little report on Qatar. This is Tim Dillon, who's definitely not funded by the Qatari government.
Welcome to the Tim Dillon Show. Special report right now. The Free Press just put out an article how Qatar bought America. And they come to the conclusion, which I vehemently disagree with, that Qatar is spending money to influence things that are happening in America. Now, if that were true, there would be signs. And I think it's irresponsible for the Free Press to come out and just baselessly claim that Qatari money is flowing, out of the spigot, and we're all drenching ourselves here in it. That's completely untrue. I have not been bought. Does this look like a man who's been bought by Qatar? Do I seem like someone who's been bought by the Middle East? I don't think so. We must really think about, before we start leveling accusations about, oh, so-and-so is getting a jet, or now you have a tiger. You have to really think about the hurt you cause when you baselessly attack people and claim that they were purchased by a foreign country. It's not the truth.
Maybe they are thinking of a gift. On the other hand, who funds ISIS? Who doesn't ISIS attack? So maybe some of these other places are like proxies to launder some money to support ISIS, just like they support Hamas. This is interesting. Leaked Hillary Clinton emails show that U.S. allies Saudi Arabia and Qatar supported ISIS. Maybe, if they were supporting ISIS and ISIS was attacking us, why didn't we invade these places? Oh, because they're our partners helping us to fund ISIS? A recently leaked 2014 email from Hillary Clinton acknowledges, citing Western intelligence sources, that the U.S.-backed regimes in Saudi Arabia and Qatar have supported ISIS. Huh. Wonder if Trump knows this. Let's see. We need to use our diplomatic and more traditional intelligence assets to bring pressure on the governments of Qatar and Saudi Arabia, which are providing clandestine financial and logistic support to ISIL and other radical Sunni groups in the region, the document states. Let me ask a question. Clandestine financial and logistical support is what Comey was providing to HSBC. Are we going to put that in context? This adds to a growing body of evidence that theocratic Gulf monarchies have helped fuel the surge of extremist groups throughout the Middle East. You can tell who wrote this article. Another newly released email from January 2016 includes an excerpt from a private October 2013 speech in which Clinton acknowledged that the Saudis, quote, the Saudis have exported more extreme ideology than any other place on earth in the course of the last 30 years. It's interesting that her husbands, good buddy Rhodes scholars, are the ones who trained the Saudis and put them in power in the first place. Also might have helped to create that place called Israel with the Balfour Declaration, but I digress. She added, however, that's been complicated by the fact that the Saudis and others are shipping large amounts of weapons, which is usually the job of the U.S. and Britain, but these people compete against them and pretty indiscriminately, not at all targeted toward the people we think would be more moderate, least likely to cause problems in the future, end quote. In a June 2013 speech to Goldman Sachs, an excerpt of which is also included in the 2016 message, Clinton emphasized that, quote, the Saudis in particular are not necessarily the stablest regimes that you can find on the planet, end quote. These emails are part of a trove released this week by transparency organization WikiLeaks. The group, which was founded by detained whistleblower Julian Assange, who's now free, says it obtained thousands of emails to and from John Podesta, a close Clinton ally. Now, this, of course, article came out in, let's see if we can find the date here. It's printed by Ben Norton on Salon, October 11th, 2016. So this is before Pizzagate. It's about 2 weeks before Pizzagate starts because people start to read those Clinton leaked emails through WikiLeaks, and they started to put two and two together, and they got four, surprisingly enough. And that's going to foreshadow some of the Epstein Island tour footage we have tonight. Also, some of that other gate of the pizza footage that we have tonight. Specifically, some of the State Department organizations used to, it looks like, this is not an accusation, it looks like they're trafficking children, targeting and trafficking children. But you'll have to wait to see 25 minutes into the documentary by Mouthy Buddha over there on BitChute, or you could press pause and go check it out and come back here. But if you just keep watching this, we'll see it later. All right, so that's one part of it. We're going to also get into the Jamal Khashoggi connection because the Qatar things are very interesting to cut into. Now, where you might say, Rich, where did you find that Salon article? Well, I just went to the History Blueprint and I typed in Qatar. And this is what I got. Here's ISIL. Here's WikiLeaks. Here's Saudi Arabia. Here's Hillary Clinton scandals. And here's leaked emails. And here's the things that are going on with it. And if you go over here to just scandals, oh boy, Hill Dog's got a whole lot of scandals. If you were to try to track these down, it's almost like trying to track through HSBC scandals. Because, oh look, James Comey. What? They have a lot of James Comey in these Hillary Clinton scandals. Huh. That's interesting. So by him going down, is that like taking out the knight outside the king's castle? So anyway, I wanted to show you, let's see, ISIS. Because I probably have multiple citations, that these guys are funded by the United States, Israel, and Great Britain. It's interesting because they don't attack Israel, but they do attack America and Britain. And yet, many times, the ISIS leader, like here's the ISIS leader, he's like, we're funded by the U.S. It's part of a strategy of attention. It's the U.S. and UK, and I could also probably add Israel above that. But there's a whole bunch of other pieces of evidence that corroborate that. And so I think it's important to take these news stories, especially they're coming out this week, and take a little look and do some grammar. You know, what is Qatar? When did it become popular? When was it founded? Who's running it? Who hides the Hamas people there so Israel can completely have an ethnic cleansing campaign, which cannot be argued because the definition of ethnic cleansing is much more clear than trying to argue the definition of genocide. So in this realm where we're about to get into things like the assassination, the sordid assassination of a Washington Post reporter who was just happens to be cousins with a guy named Adnan Khashoggi from Iran-Contra, who once sold his boat to Donald Trump. So there's a lot of, things that have been going on for 20, 30 years that seem to be hitting in the news this past week. You got more Clinton body count information, and I believe that Trump just said something yesterday to the effect that maybe she needs to go to jail. Maybe there's other things going on. So we have to see, because it's not good to have political warfare going on between red team and blue team in our country. We should be united. And by that, I don't mean purple, because if you're thinking of the color purple, you probably watched Jake Tran's new documentary on the Bayer family, who had the chemical composition for the color purple, and they were the sellers of that. Did they play a role in World War II? Bayer? Anyone? Anyway, I'm sure them owning Monsanto now isn't part of a bigger Nazi scheme. But there will be Nazi talk later because there's a Babylon Bee video we're going to play that's it's maybe in reference to Kanye's song. I'm not sure. We'll have to see. Before we move on, gentlemen, how's our streaming?
Paul saved the day. Paul saved the day.
Paul Verge to the rescue. I'll send you a cape. Now you're an official superhero. Grand Theft World capes, they're selling out. If Hecklefish can sell slippers, I can sell capes. It's a Y-Files joke. All right, so do you think that there's going to be some hubbub with this Comey thing we're about to dig into coming up?
It's interesting. I got some thoughts on it for sure. I mean, you heard about the 9/11 thing, right?
Well, I mean, I just heard Tim Dillon reference like it's not good to think of Muslims with airplanes.
Well, you did well about the whole 86-47 9/11 thing. Like
No.
How many
day
days?
the day that happened was exactly 8,647 days from 9/11.
What?
Yes. And so that's why some
So
people
James Comey went to his Illuminati meeting,
Yes.
and then he came back. He's like, I'm going to tweet this with Shell.
He's signaling.
Green language to his other compadres.
It's one of those things where it's like, I mean, what are the odds that it is a
Who checked the math on it?
Hey,
I understand the claim, the allegation, but did anyone count the days?
I'll look it up right now. But yes, it's
I'll give it plus or minus 48 hours.
I watched somebody do a live check on it, but
Well, that is very convincing.
Yeah.
But we triple check here. On
Yep. Anyway, but yeah, but then yeah, so there's that, and well, maybe I'll save it for the commentary afterwards. But yeah.
Yeah, because we have to break through Biden non-compos mentis evidence first. But Paul, what were you thinking?
I mean, it's quite a coincidence for it to be 8,647 days exactly after 9/11.
Well, that wouldn't be a coincidence. That is cunning calculation.
And so then it's like one of those like gaslighting trolls where they're going to be like, he immediately postures with plausible deniability. He's like, what? I didn't know what that meant. But I've seen other people talking about how there was, for years, people doing 86-46, and there's actually people doing 86-45. So I'm hoping that we're not getting outraged over a thing that's already been done by both blue and red team in years past, and that this is just selective outrage kind of thing. But for someone of James Comey's tenure, stature, and especially with the timing, I can't help but take it, yes, like it's a message they're trying to communicate on both an overt and covert level.
Yeah. It's, is it scripted? Is it live? Is it Memorex? Is it Comey? We will see. Twice a year, I teach a course called Autonomy. It's a 12-week course. It teaches leadership, entrepreneur skills, executive skills, all these types of things that I saw were taken out of our education system in order to make the schooling or indoctrination system that we've all probably went through. And it has served us well enough to be interchangeable cogs in the machine of the globalists. But if we want a homestead, if we want write our own ticket, work from home job, work from anywhere type of situation, they're not exactly handing those out at the end of college. They give you a piece of paper and they're like, good luck. So reality is dropping us off here, but the demands of reality are up here. So I created Autonomy to help people close that gap for themselves so they can level up their skills to the demands of the situations that life is putting in front of us presently. Life's demands of intellect and understanding precision and complexity are ever increasing. The schooling didn't prepare us for it. The media is not going to do anything but reinforce what schooling prepared us for. And so we're going to have to take a leadership position and take steps off the beaten path to kind of blaze our own trail in life. What makes the Grand Theft World podcast unique, invigorating, exciting, and informative? Most other podcasts out there are either doing straight up interviews or they're just covering the daily news. They're covering current events from the day they happened. And that is effective. It's useful. It's a great starting point. And then sometimes these current events change during the week past the first story. So we like to give it a little time. You have to wait till some of the dust settles on these stories in order to give them accurate coverage. And the other thing that's really missing in the media landscape is covering the articles that are coming out every day. That's great. That's necessary. But who's bringing in contextual history so that you can understand what has been going on for decades and decades to lead up to the machinations and actions that we see unfolding today? So what we do here on the podcast is we cover current events. Many of these things are censored, but we wait about a week. As a forensic historian, I focused mainly through my career on the history of globalism and collectivism and things that they call maybe the New World Order. There's a lot of facts to these sort of circumstances, groups, events, activities, working groups that they've had over time. So for Grand Theft World listeners, we not only break down the current events, most of which that are censored during the week, we provide you with contextual history, we give you the source notes, the references, we do deep dives, and this really empowers you with an understanding of context and history so that you can make more informed decisions in your life. There's also a community, a membership where you guys can actually ask questions and we can get into the show and we can share evidence. And there's a town hall weekly for Grand Theft World for those who listen to it and are interested in covering the stories that we don't get to during a 6-hour show. Listening to it an hour a day, you could easily consume the week's news, but you're going to have substance and meaning and context and understanding. And with that, you can make higher quality decisions in your life. So if you're interested in more quality in your life, go to grandtheftworld.com, click podcast at the top, and we'll see you there. Thank you.
These allegations are false.
This isn't Grand Theft Auto, folks. This isn't a video game.
What are the most surprising things that you discovered once you started pulling on that thread? Who he was connected to, what institutions he was influential over, what events he participated in?
Come on, man. What are we talking about? Come on, man. No.
You don't have to think about it, dude.
I got this quote because you said you didn't know much about Klaus Schwab. I made it my job to, as soon as this happened, I'm like, okay, this guy's their front man. Let me learn about the official history of the World Economic Forum. I got their 40-year history. I got every book that Klaus Schwab has written or ghostwritten. I went through those books. This is one of the most interesting passages.
Come on, man. Come on.